This is your Chargers linebacker, Daiyan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to a special live edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Daiyan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning into the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Daiyan Wolkenstein can barely even get that one out. The excitement is palpable. It's running through my veins right now. 2 days remaining until the 2024 NFL Draft. There is so much excitement, hype, however you want to spin it. Around this Chargers team right now in terms of what they are going to ultimately end up doing at 5 in the 2 days that will follow Thursday, and ultimately what this draft class is going to shake up to look like. Lots to get into. We wanted to make sure that we did a live show this close to the NFL draft. Lots to get into tonight as Dan and I are going to go through some of our favorite players, whether it's rounds or day 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter. Some guys we have talked about ad nauseum on this show. Other guys we'll be speaking about for the first time. I have no idea what Dan's list looked like, nor do my own. We're basically just flying by the seat of our pants as it relates to the my guys in this. As well, of course, we will obviously be taking questions from the chat, so make sure to get those in. And then we will be capping off today's live show with a fan-driven mock draft. That's our agenda today. We have lots to get into. Before we do, Dan Wolkenstein, talk to me.
Woo, boy, Chargers fans in the chat. We got 2 more days until Chargers make history. First year under Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz. Chargers era officially begins in new form, new fashion. And boy, am I pumped. I know we talked about this before. I can't remember a draft season that has been this anticipated and has me this excited for the new regime, if you will. And so, yeah, this live show, we had to do it. We listened to a lot of the fans and viewers and listeners. You said you wanted to do a mock draft with you involved. So look, here we are. We're doing that. Second half of the show, that will be what we do. First half, we're going all things Dan's dudes, Jake's guys, Jake's jewels, whatever you want to coin your term, Jake. I don't really care. I'll let you work on that. Folks in the chat, you know the deal. If you have questions, comments, topics, put it in the chat. We'll do our best to kind of weave it in and out as we go. First thing on the docket, we're going to be going through our guys. I'm curious, though, folks in the chat, who are your guys? I'm curious to see how many of the ones that Jake and I have selected here to talk about. There's so many to choose from. But who are the ones that you love? Who are the ones you will be pounding the table? You'll be doing backflips. You'll be doing belly flops in Rivers Lake, whatever it is that you'll be doing. Shots, cartwheels, you tell us. We'll put it in the chat as we go. Jake, how big is your my guys list generally? Not necessarily what we're going to talk about here, but like how many guys would you say you have as your guys?
This year's probably one of the bigger lists. I'm only going to be talking about 10 of them. That's kind of a microcosm as it relates to the overall list. I mean, in general, you can make a my guys for just the wide receiver list because the Chargers need 2 of them, and you could make a case for a lot of different guys on how they could be a great fit for this team. But in how we're going to break this list down, I've got 10 guys. Dan, I think you've got 8 to 10 guys as well that we have.
Yep.
This is going to be fun because I like this just from the standpoint of, look, regardless on whether or not the Chargers select any of these players, these are just guys that are fun to watch. And then to see where they're ultimately going to end up going and making an impact for whatever team that they end up land on. This is why this is fun. And this is why we don't even rank these, because there really is no rankings. We like these players so much. No rankings are even needed. It's just to say, let's go through the list and let's have some fun with it.
Yeah, Young West in the chat already. I'm not going to lie. I know we need depth in this draft, but if we have Marvin Harrison Jr. or Neighbors there at 5 and trade back, I'm guessing he means, I might just check myself into a crazy home. Good news. We will be doing a mock draft here in a bit. I put a poll up on X to see what fans would rather do, trade back or stick and pick at 5. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is not on the board, we'll see what happens. Jake, shall we kind of kick this thing into high gear? Hayden says Maserati going 4. I think you and I both would agree. The most likely scenario is Arizona sticks and picks. Would you agree?
I think that even if quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, I'm not so sure that Arizona is going to find a trade partner that's going to give them the amount that they want to move off of Marvin Harrison Jr. It just doesn't sound realistic. As much as I would like it to happen, and as much as I would like to see Marvin Harrison Jr. be there for the Chargers to select at 5, the closer and closer we get to the NFL draft, and of course, I can't remember who put out the tweet maybe a half hour ago. Someone said, take this for what it's worth, but Marvin Harrison Jr. met with 2 teams, and not including the combine. It was the Bears and it was the Cardinals. So however you want to shake that, that's probably how the first 4 picks are going to go.
Yes. So Jake, before to kind of set the table here, we're going to go through our guys. So Jake's going to do some, I'm going to do some, we'll go back and forth. There obviously will be some overlap. There are some guys that Jake loves that I love and vice versa. We'll go through and look at the chat as we continue on to see how many of the ones that you guys have align with us. I'm already looking James Wagner, Jake. He has Fuanga and he has Zach Frazier, who looks like door number 3 here on Jake's guys. We've also got Kevin A, who gives a few names: Junior Colson, Dwayne Carter, a.k.a. Little Wayne, Jaden Hicks, Isaac Rendo, and Brendan Rice. Jake, the floor is yours. Who are some of your Jake's guys? Do you have a TM? Do you have a trademark for a name, coin phrase for yours?
No, apparently I'm not as popular as you are when it comes to the trademark, so good luck with your patent on that. All right, let's start from this slide in particular. I didn't have these in any discernible order here, but let's just go from the left on this one. Let's start with Braden Fisk, Florida State. I have loved everything that I have seen from Braden Fisk through watching the tape, through the testing phase for him, especially when it came to him just absolutely demolishing the combine. Yes, production was better for him in 2022 than it was in 2023, but he still finished with 43 tackles, 19 hurries, and 6 sacks. He just explodes off the line. Plays with his hair on fire. He can penetrate through offensive linemen with speed, with handwork. His play against Louisville, against the run, and how quickly he was able to get into the backfield, just it highlights his best traits that he has as an interior defensive lineman. And like I said, he had a great week of practice during the Senior Bowl and absolutely demolished the combine workouts. If this was a possibility to where you could say, no, look, even for the Chargers right now as it stands, we haven't talked that much about interior defensive linemen and the needs that the Chargers have in that circumstance. I could see a universe at 37 if Braden Fisk was still on the board. Like, hey, we talk about how Jim Harbaugh likes to prioritize the trenches, but which trenches are we talking about? Because they both need work. But in general, I love what I see from Braden Fisk. I think whatever team ends up selecting him is going to get a great piece in the center of their defensive line that is going to be great against the run and the pass.
Look, Braden Fisk, I think, is a fan favorite for a lot of people for a lot of good reasons. You can't go wrong. If Braden Fisk is the pick wherever they pick him, I don't think Chargers fans should or could be upset, if I'm being completely honest. Next up on your list, Jake, what you got?
Is this how we're doing? I thought we were alternating.
We can alternate.
By all means, let's get to your trademark.
Okay, so I'm going with my guys here. So I've talked about it a bit on X. I've said it here a bit before, but you better, if you are not doing so already, keep up with the Joneses. And if you don't understand the phrase, look to your left. These far left guys from Florida State and Boston College, Elijah Jones and Jarian Jones. Elijah Jones from BC, Jarian Jones, the slot corner out of Florida State. Both of these guys are Dan's dude, certified, trademark, whatever you say. Elijah Jones, he's an outside corner, 6'1", like 185, ran a 4.44 40. 42.5-inch vertical leap for this guy, by the way. Ideal height, I would imagine getting this guy with Ben Herbert and company, thicken him out about 10, 15 pounds or so, get him up around 200 pounds. Top man coverage grade, according to PFF, among all corners. 3rd lowest passer rating allowed in man coverage among corners, 100-plus snaps. Not a zone corner. So again, like, he's very specific. Island, Jones Island, put him there. Incredible boundary defender, active hands, a disruptor, gets in fits with receivers all the time. Jarian Jones, this is like your slot demon, in my opinion. 6 foot, 6 foot 190, excuse me. Ran a 4.38 40. 4.38 40. Second best athletic score among corners, according to Next Gen Stats. 39.5-inch vertical by himself. Ideal height, thin frame again, but again, this is a slot nickel corner. This guy had top man coverage grade amongst corners, third lowest passer rating allowed in man coverage. I think I actually had that one wrong. So you check that. He's, in my opinion, Jarrian Jones is probably going to be what could possibly push Asante Samuel Jr. up or down, depending on how good he does. Both Joneses, in my opinion, are wildly underrated. And probably Elijah Jones is the more underrated one. You hear a lot of people talk about Jarrian Jones. Elijah Jones is like down in the 150 to 200 in most people's big boards. I think he's much better than that. I'm pounding the table for both of these Joneses. Jake, are you as high on the Joneses as I am?
With this cornerback group that the Chargers currently have in their backfield right now, yeah, you should be high on both of these players right now, especially Elijah Jones, Dan. I was even seeing a tweet actually earlier today regarding him, that they believe that he could actually go a lot higher than projected. When we did our mock draft yesterday, we were actually shocked that he was even still on the board when we ultimately ended up selecting him. But Elijah Jones is going to be a very good corner. Honestly, I don't think that you could go wrong with either of these two guys.
Yeah, and again, I misspoke. I apologize. Jarrian Jones, I always get the Joneses confused, and so it just, my brain's mush at this point. So let me get right on Jarrian Jones. This past season, only yielded 16 receptions, gave up a passer rating of 25.3, allowed no touchdowns, had 3 interceptions, and just a 4.2 passer rating allowed in man coverage, which is the best in college football. This guy flies around the football. He's crazy click and close, really good instincts, 3-year starter. The reason why Jarrian Jones has a lot of hype, but both Joneses, in my opinion, I love. Jake, let's pass it over to you for a couple. What you got?
I'll stick with the cornerback here, Dan, and a very, very intriguing cornerback. And we've talked about the possibility of the Chargers double dipping at certain positions, and whether that's wide receiver, whether that's cornerback, because they need dramatic help at both. Kamal Hayden out of Tennessee. I'm very interested to see where he ultimately ends up going. And now you're talking about a player who has great size, athleticism. At one point in time this season, he had the third best coverage grade among DBs with 100 coverage snaps with 90.4. Unfortunately, he ended up having his season-ending shoulder injury following the game versus Atlanta. Before the injury, though, he was Tennessee's most productive corner, allowing only 12 receptions on 33 attempts. He had 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, but the quarterback rating when he was targeted, 7. It was 7. So the biggest questions for him are obviously going to be the experience, as he only has started 16 games over the past 2 years in Tennessee. And hopefully that shoulder injury is not going to hamper him too much. But ultimately, I'm intrigued by where someone is going to see the value for Kamal Hayden, because when healthy, I think this is a very, very talented cornerback that you could add to the back end of your roster. And I've seen a lot of people predicting him that he would probably go, easy on day 3, just not 100% of when. But I think that his intangibles in terms of his size and athleticism should have coaches salivating for some value. If you can get him at good health, you could develop him into a very nice backfield, or cornerback to add to your backfield.
Yep. And then I know you've been bullish on the center class this entire offseason. Talk about your guy.
Jeez. If I haven't said enough about Zach Frazier already, it's hard to find anything else that I can honestly say about him. Zach Frazier, in my opinion, if he did not go down with an injury, and I've said this before, I truly believe that he would be in contention to be the first center off the board. I know Schrager, in his latest mock, had Frazier being up in there, and then all of a sudden JPJ was out in his first round mock, which was very surprising. But I truly believe that if Frazier was healthy throughout the duration of the season, got a chance to ultimately end up playing the Senior Bowl, he only ended up going through drills, didn't ultimately end up playing in the game. I truly believe that he would be in contention for the first center to come off the board in this class. I love everything about him, I think, as it relates to what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman want to install for this team, this run game. He is just an absolute mauler, and that collegiate wrestling background definitely helps him out in that. But he is so flexible, moves laterally very well, did not give up a sack, and only had 3 quarterback hits this past season. He's got great agility with good blocking range, makes easy adjustments to get himself into positions to make blocks, can get to the second level very quickly on double blocks. There's a clip against Baylor, if you go back and watch it, from 2022, where he just makes it so effortlessly by taking the defender who's on him and just moving to his left, and before you know it, he's already in the second level and just right in the linebacker's face, ready to make the next block. His mental traits: he has very high football IQ, great at diagnosing pressure, picking up the rushers. Just in general, his power is ridiculous, and here's where that collegiate wrestling comes into play. There are so many clips of him just going one-on-one with defenders where he barely gives up any ground. He's either stonewalling them or he's rerouting them to the nearest freeway exit. I love everything that I see about Zach Frazier. And honestly, at 37, we've seen mock drafts that have had that selected. Depending on what the Chargers would ultimately do in the first round, I wouldn't be mad at adding a guy like Zach Frazier to this roster.
You know what? Honestly, you are spitting rhymes and bars, so keep it going, Little Weezy style. Let's go for your 4th guy on the right, then I'll go finish off mine.
Mr. Dwayne Carter out of Duke. Physicality and versatility are the 2 words that come to mind when watching Carter. Just brings a high energy playing style and does it consistently through whether he's going up against the run, going up against the pass. And now, yes, admittedly, much like it was with Braden Fisk, his 2022 tape was better than his 2023 tape. Doesn't have the elite athleticism that some of the other interior guys have in this class. But he's still a big challenge for opposing offensive linemen. Strong to hold his spot against the run, against double teams. He's got the footwork and power to drive back blockers. He doesn't just rely on his power, though. He's very technical with his handwork, can use a bevy of pass rush moves to get past his blockers. And he's predominantly used from the interior, but he was also kicked outside and used on the outside as an end and as a rusher as well. So I think that when you take a guy like that and when you look at, what the Chargers need in the interior of the defensive line, you're still technically looking for a little bit more pass rush help to round out the group of Tuli, Bosa, and Mack. I just love the versatility that Dwayne Carter brings, and I think that he would be a nice, versatile chess piece in this interior defensive line front.
You got me on him. I didn't see much until you told me about him, and then I went to him, and I was like, oh my goodness, yes. Dwayne Carter will be fun. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's get some of the comments real quick before we continue on. Let's see. Wouldn't mind Frazier at 37. Let's see. Brandon Dorless. That's another name for interior. I almost put him on there. I have another interior defensive lineman there instead. Actually, I have a couple, I believe. Jake, question in here real quick. Someone asked about where did it go? Philip asked, what's with the odds shifting hard for the Chargers to take J.J. McCarthy? I mean,
when did this happen?
I saw something where it went like, I forget, I'm paraphrasing, but I think it went like from 1,000 to 1 to now it's like 100 to 1, which again, 100 to 1, still no chance. Again, like I think there's a chance that the 5th overall pick is JJ McCarthy, but
not the Chargers taking him.
Come on, this is
not
so
the
dumb.
Chargers taking him.
No, another one. Kevin says Max, MF, and Melton is going to be a star, a big star.
Great
I think
player.
that might be pun intended, because he may play star depending on what position he's doing. All right, let's keep this thing going. Brad says we need at least 6 more DBs, hence why I've got 3 of them here on this list. So let's get to my other 2. Jake.
Real quick, Dan, actually piggyback off of that. See, we had Alan in the super chat real quick, just to piggyback off the DBs. If we draft a cornerback and Asante Samuel Jr. struggles through the first half of the season, do you think he'd get traded, and what do you think his value is?
First off, thank you, Alan. Shout out to the $4.99 that you provided us. Much, much appreciated. What do I think his value is? He's going into what? His fourth season, right? for a season. So this is his last year of his contract. Not much, honestly. I don't think his value be that high. I think he probably. I don't think the scenario happens, honestly. And if he does struggle, I also don't really see him struggling that much. Like, he really hasn't. He's a perplexing player because I really like Asante Samuel Jr. He's great for what he does, but he's also not great at what he doesn't do well. And the one thing that this Chargers team needs is corners who can tackle. And he's not really the tackling type. He's, he puts effort there, but it kind of feels like after the concussions and stuff that he went through, he's played a little differently since then. And I'm not sure that could just be me, but I don't know. I don't think there would be much trade market for him. Do you? Am I out of place here?
I wouldn't necessarily say there's not a market. Personally, I don't see a situation where this ends up panning out, and I say this strictly just because of what the cornerback room looks like right now. And yes, you have Christian Fulton, who's essentially your hope is going to be a reclamation project on a 1-year deal. But I don't see why you would potentially take away from your DB room, even in a certain situation like this. I know that Joe Ortiz has said since his introductory press conference that they will never stop looking for corners, which I'm sure begged this question.
Yep.
But I don't see it in that circumstance, given the fact of, well, who else do you have on the roster? Even in the trade scenario, even if you get a fair compensation package back, who do you have left in that circumstance that you ultimately would believe that right now could step up and fill that position better?
Not much. Not much. Jake, let's go a little quicker here. We've got to get to the draft, which I know a lot of people are excited for, mock draft season. So my 3 and 4 on this list, Dadrian Taylor Demerson. A tongue twister of a name, but this guy is slick with it on the field. 4 interceptions this past year, 4.4 140 time, 3-year starter, a little undersized, but sure tackler, 76.2 coverage grade. I think he had a 77 tackling grade. Plays very aggressively at the safety position. Really good ball skills. Would be great to have behind both Derwin and Alohi. We have no idea what JT Woods is going to be or not going to be, but he brings versatility, which I know is a staple of Jesse Mitchell's defense. Experience in the slot, in the box, as well as deep safety. His instincts are what he predicates his ball skills on. Good physicality, can definitely lay the wood. Cerebral player, someone I would love to see in this DB room. Jake, where do you have him as on your safety room, list? Excuse me.
Admittedly,
he's high for me.
I mean, yeah, he is. But the safety class is.
I know
it's not the best. It's not that deep. So naturally, yes, you would have that there. From a safety standpoint in general, I'll be interested to see how that position is targeted in the drafts because, yes, you obviously keep Alohi. You have no idea still what JT Woods is ultimately going to end up being. What does the back half of that position group look like? You still need to, I think, add some depth. It's probably not one of the higher positions that you target throughout the draft, given the other needs that you have to fill. But I'd be interested to see in general how the safety market is addressed.
Yep. I'm very curious what happens with the safety group and when they go because they're kind of all over the place. By the way, Cam Kitchens, I love Cam Kitchens. If they didn't have Derwin James, Cam Kitchens would be the guy that I'd be sprinting for. Last one on this list, at least for this slide, Tyrone Tracy. Jake, we talked about it in our running backs episode.
Yes.
Dude, this guy is so forking fun to watch. I said it before. Antonio Gibson vibes from my end, and I don't say that lightly. Loved him coming out of college, out of Memphis. He's a bit raw as a running back, but dude, this guy's got athleticism for days. He's got all of the flashy explosiveness that you can ever dream of. 4th best yards after contact per attempt in all of college amongst running backs with 100 plus attempts with 4.44 yards, excuse me. 5th highest elusive grade among running backs this past year with 100 plus attempts with a 163.5. His total numbers aren't there because he wasn't really utilized as much as some of the really more prolific running backs that you hear about. He only had 114 attempts. But if you look at the averages of those 114 running attempts, they're elite. The guy hits holes quickly. He's a pure athlete, violent feet, 4.48 speed, prototypical size, 5'11", 210. Tyrone Tracy is so fun to watch. And he's just a freaking playmaker, man. Like, he forces missed tackles so often. Great out of the backfield. I would love if this guy somehow got on this Chargers team. I know they already got J.K. Dobbins. I know they got I think they can go for one more, honestly. So please, Chargers, please get this man on this Chargers team.
I'm glad that you brought up Tyrone Tracy, because honestly, I was going to put him in my list of guys, but then I thought to myself, because I knew how much you loved him, and I thought, you know what, Dan is probably going to end up putting him in his list. I'm just going to let him take the ball and run with it.
You're welcome. Yeah, I love him. Jake, let's go. I knew you were going to have Latu. There's no way we were not going to have Latu on this list.
I'm saving Latu for the end. Okay, let's just make that note right now. So I'm going to go the opposite direction here. So I'm going to go from right to left. Let's start with Jonah Ellis, edge out of Utah. 37 tackles, 13 sacks, 24 quarterback hurries, and 1 forced fumble. Seek and destroy mentality is Jonah Ellis. Quick first step off the line, gets into the backfield so fast. He is an absolute speed demon. Comes off the edge with inside moves, and he even has a speed move, Dan, that would probably make Dwight Freeney just sit back and give an ear-to-ear grin on his face. Can power through shed blocks with ease, gets to the quarterback. He's just high motor, high intensity kind of player that is just really going to benefit a defensive line no matter where he lands. I love the tape that I see from Jonah Ellis. I think he's just one of those guys that the character is going to match the intensity that he brings on the field. And overall, however you want to slot him, he's going to be a guy who's going to come in and just produce from day one.
Yeah, I love Latu. He was my edge one from the jump, and then a lot of people were talking.
Not Latu yet.
I'm already going to Latu. I don't even care. Like, just move on. Go.
In due time, my friend. In due time. Be patient.
I know. Look, I know. Jonah Ellis, like, the guy's a stud. The guy's a stud, and this kind of reminds me of like on my slide, I have like the guy that I would want by far. And then if I can't get that guy, then I have the guy that I think would be like a great consolation prize, which that might be disrespectful to Jonah Ellis. But like, make no mistake about it. The guys, on left and right side of frame right now, like, they're in different categories. And I'm sorry, I just got excited about Latu and I jumped the gun.
All right. Geez. Patience, my friend. Patience. I'll move to the next player right next to him. That's Ray Davis out of Kentucky. Probably one of my favorite running backs in this entire class. First of all, the story behind him in general throughout his entire college career is just so great to root for. He's definitely just that guy that you want to be his cheerleader in this circumstance, and had experiences through 3 different colleges between Temple, then Vanderbilt, then ended up suffering a torn ligament that ended up ending his 2021 season. He doesn't possess some of the high-end traits that other running backs in this class do, but he has that skill set that could translate so smoothly to the next level. And he had success in both zone and gap schemes, runs between tackles very, very easily, can shake defenders with his cuts. Best game came against Florida, where he had 280 yards rushing in that game and just showed what he's all about. Power, outside running, cut ability, utilization in the passing game. Again, 1,000-yard seasons in 3 different programs for him. I would love to see where Ray Davis ends up, and especially now after the J.K. Dobbins signing for the Chargers. I still think that obviously the running back is going to be addressed, but I think the timing in which they ultimately end up addressing it for them, I don't think it comes before day 3.
I was going to ask, so between Tracy and Davis, like, when do you see these guys going, and do you think they go before the Chargers would realistically pick a running back?
Tyrone Tracy, to me, seems like he could be a guy that could sneak in to round 3 just before day 3. I think that there is something about him that just people love, that people are enamored with. And again, it depends on when this run of running backs is going to end up happening. That's the big question. The 3rd round might be the spot where you start seeing them come off the board in bunches. But the good news is for the Chargers is because they're not necessarily looking for RB1 in this class. They're going to go, in my opinion, much more by a running back by committee style. Pick your flavor on who you want in this running back class, because the skill sets are plenty in this one, and any one of them could add some great versatility to this backfield.
Yeah, real quick. Let's go to a couple comments real fast. James Wagner says, with the running backs we have, couldn't we go UDFA for adding more running backs? Absolutely. They 100% can. And I think there's somebody in the chat earlier. Folks have not gone and seen it. Haley Elwood and Joe Ortiz sat down. And Joe Ortiz, music to my ears, already talking about they don't stop at the draft. They are already working on kind of their big board, their target list for UDFAs. Free agency has not ended. So 100% they could be looking at running backs for UDFAs. No question about it. Eddie Saldana says, that's why I can't wait till Monday. All the questions will be answered. We'll know what the 2024 Los Angeles Chargers will look like. No more mocks and dream Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be reality. Eddie then says, Jake, they should have drafted a tight end. God dang it. Yes, I know.
I feel like that's been 12 straight months that we've been saying that under the table.
Yep. Soccer Loop says, draft on my mind 24/7. Brad says, I love this shit. LF, go. Bummer for Eddie, though. Sucks he'll be working on draft days.
Oh,
that's the worst.
Oh, honestly. That's horrible.
That's the worst. I don't know. We have Hayden Hurst, Disley, and Parham. Do we really need a tight end? Jake, do we need a tight end?
I think that they will address the tight end at some point in this draft. To what capacity? Because obviously Brock Bowers is the guy in this draft. And however you want to look at it in terms of now what the Chargers need, because you've brought in Hayden Hurst, you brought in Will Disley, you only have Parham and Stone Smart under contract for this next coming season. So you're going to need to address tight end at some point. So does that mean you go with an Eric All? Take a flyer on him, who has some familiarity with Jim Harbaugh from way back in the day? Obviously, unfortunate injury history with him, but in terms of his athletic capabilities and what he could do when he is healthy and has the ball, that's one I wouldn't mind looking at either. Outside of that, you have your Ben Sinnott, who a lot of people believe is going to be the second tight end off the board, your Jatavian Sanders in there as well. But I don't think that you prioritize tight end before day 3 whatsoever. Probably not even until, I don't know, maybe your second, 4th round pick that you have, depending on how many you have by the time that day 3 rolls along. Who knows? But in general, will they prioritize tight end? Sure, but they won't do it high in this draft.
I agree. Let's keep this train rolling. Brad says, am I crazy for being more worried about defensive tackle and DBs than I am about the wide receiver situation? No, you're not crazy. Let's talk about the DB that you have second to left.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a guy who has been such a joy to watch, and through this whole draft this whole draft process has broken my heart, because it is so good to see the rise of Quentin Mitchell.
Damn, it sucks because they're not.
And if
you remember like 2 months ago?
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. What the cornerback class looked like 2.5 months ago, it was Kool-Aid McKistry and it was Nate Wiggins as, at that point in time, the consensus 1 and 2 corners. Now we have dramatically shifted so much to where Quentin Mitchell was once looked at as a second-round prospect, is now in the mix to possibly be the first cornerback off the board in the draft, which is just wild. But you talk about a guy who has just done everything right for the past several months, whether we're talking about Senior Bowl, the Combine, just demolishing everything. Speed, agility, Mitchell's got that. Coverage ability, 37 career passes defended, great in man coverage, mirrors wide receivers very well, diagnosis plays quickly when he's in zone coverage, jumps routes, he's scheme versatile, was used all over the field predominantly on the outside or in the slot. He's physical, played predominantly an off-coverage scheme in Toledo, so there hasn't been much of an opportunity for him to show how physical he can be with wide receivers. And his instincts, Dan, I think that he has terrific instincts. His ability to read and react is some of the best of any cornerback in this entire class. He has fantastic closing speed. When the ball is in the air, he's able to change direction and make a play. Like I said, I love everything that I have watched from Quentin Mitchell. And if the situation comes about to where the Chargers ultimately end up trading down to, let's just say, for 11, how I would flip my board, because I already know that most likely I have missed out on the top 3 wide receivers. Cornerback is the next group that I would say, hey, top priority in terms of some playmakers that you need to add. So I know everybody would probably say they would go, Fuaga or, whichever offensive tackle they would want to choose at that point. And that would totally be fine. But I might want to go CB1. And truthfully, right now, I've got Quentin as my CB2 just behind Terrion Arnold. But I love everything that I see about Quentin Mitchell.
Yeah, okay. I have waited far too long for you to talk about Latu. Can you talk about him now? Just been sitting here like, okay, cool.
Fine. All right. I feel like I've talked about my love for Latu ad nauseum on this podcast. He is my edge one in this class. That's above Dallas Turner, and that's above Jared Verse. He is just the Lex Luger of this class. He is the total package, in my opinion. 27 sacks over the past 2 seasons, 36 quarterback hurries, 15 sacks with a 40.5 pass rush win rate and a 23.9 pressure rate.
That is stupid.
Stupid good. In summary, he was owning property in the backfield of opposing offenses. That was his side job. He was kicking in the back door and raiding the fridge on a week in by week out basis. His quickness off the snap is just absolutely ridiculous. He has a full complement of pass rush moves at his disposal. His bendability to get around offensive tackles is so impressive. As good as his ability is to even get after the passer, Dan, he has solid instincts when he can drop into coverage. And if this was a multiverse where either Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack did not end up returning to the Chargers, the thought of pairing Latu with Tuli and having this be the edge duo of the future is absolutely salivating.
Man, hell, even if those guys stayed, like long-term approach, like a technician like Latu paired with the kind of the bulldoze bully of Tuli would just be sick and would be so nice to have. Imagine like a USC, UCLA, like all keep it the family of LA football, like LAFB be chilling. Speaking of LAFB, Ryan Dyer says Latu for life. Shout out to Ryan Dyer, by the way. If you haven't already done so, we did a dueling mock draft, Chargers versus Rams yesterday. Feel pretty good about it, other than the folks flaming me for not going AD Mitchell for wide receiver. But I digress. All right, Jake, let's get to the last ones, because I know folks are wanting to do this mock draft, and we are as well. Switch gears here for a second. Apologies. All right, so I couldn't go a special episode that's live about talking about our guys without talking about the guys second to left. Hell, even to the left. So I'll start to the right, go left. T'Vondre Sweat. He has fallen off a cliff. With that weight, probably falls really, really quickly because of the stuff that happened off the field. And I understand that is a variable to take into account. But if there's someone that can make this guy right and can take advantage of the situation at hand, it's Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh. And then you pair that with the fact of having someone that massive in the middle that we have not seen since Jamal Williams, realistically, on this Chargers team. Whether Ben Herbert gets in there, D-line coach gets in there to help with technique. Ben Herbert helps maybe get him into shape a bit to help him be able to last 3 downs, whatever it is. Imagine the possibility of him in the middle of the edge groups that we talked about, paired with a Morgan Fox and a Poona Ford, a Scott Matlock. Like, that would be epic. And now, because of the stuff, you're seeing him go from a second, third round pick to now being a day 3 guy, which is insane to me. There's no way that he's a day 3 talent. And I would think that this Chargers staff can kind of get him to kind of play right, if you will, and focus on the straight and narrow. And I know some people might be out on T'Vondre Sweat because of that. Like, I get it. But I think him being surrounded by this staff, I think would be incredibly helpful. Dan actually comes in here and says, vets like Mack could help as well. Kevin says, I wouldn't want Sweat. He's easily beat by athletic defenders, and that's why the NFL is today. You can't just put a big guy like Sweat in the middle and expect success. He's going to struggle. I beg to differ, but we'll see. Next one, Roop Orororo. The guy's an athletic freak. And you talk about this Chargers staff, Jesse Minter, what you've seen in Michigan with Jim Harbaugh and company. The defensive line, they just had athletes. Like, that's what that defensive front is predicated on is just athletic freaks. This guy is one of them. If I have a chance to bring him in, again, this is probably, at this point, he's probably going earlier than Javondre Sweat, which I wouldn't have said before. But I'd take him. Again, we want athleticism on the defense. We talked about that with the linebackers with versatility. Same thing with defensive line. Get versatility so Jesse Mitchell can shine. Let him go crazy and put up some of these exotic fronts. I'm down for that. I'm not going an episode without talking about Taj Washington. I'm going Malik Neighbors last because you know. I'm telling you right now, Taj Washington is the closest thing to my beloved Tank Dell since Tank Dell. Now, he's not round one worthy Tank Dell, like I said last year. But he is round three, probably, in my opinion, round 4, day 3 version of Tank Dell. A little small, I get it. But he will put everybody in a blender. Folks will say, oh, well, he'll get bullied by corners. Put him in motion. Don't care. He makes everyone look silly. His separation is insane. Think Roman Wilson, but more on skates, in my opinion. Go watch his film. He is, in my opinion, so dynamic. He's not necessarily like the crazy fastest guy, which he does have speed, but he has kind of the agility and kind of the start-stop. He has kind of the Nintendo Switch, if you will, to make guys miss all over the place, and he would be a mismatch for defenders. I know he's small. Bulk him up, put him in motion, let him go crazy. He could be what I think we thought Darius Davis could be. Last on my list, and this might be a little bit easy because I think everyone at this point has climbed on board the Neighbors train, and we may see the Chargers draft this guy at 5 overall, and you guys might select him at 5 overall when we do our mock draft here in a bit. Malik Neighbors is my favorite player in this draft class and has arguably been my favorite receiver that I have seen probably since Jamar Chase. And that's including Tank Dell, which I fork and love Tank Dell too. I don't remember the Chargers ever having somebody that has this type of athleticism and explosiveness paired with speed. And you can argue which receiver is quote unquote better between the big three. My favorite, the one who I think causes defenses to panic the most, to not give up the big play, to make them in conflict throughout, is Malik Neighbors. We don't know what this Chargers team, what the fit is that they want to have. We don't know that. We think we know. We think that maybe Odunze and maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. fit what they want the most. Maybe, just maybe, Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh say, you know what? Fork the fit. I want this thing to break. I want to put defenses in conflict, and I want to do something that we haven't done before. I don't want the X guy. I want the one who is going to freak folks out all the time. Give me a heavy box, throw over the top to Neighbors. Give me a light box, run down your throat all day. What are you going to do? If you're a defender, what are you going to do? Honestly, he is my favorite by far. Dan Dude certified, trademark, you name it. Like, in my opinion, Jake, I'm going to be there with you. If the Chargers stay at 5, or maybe they trade back to like 6 or something, and that's the guy that they choose, I am going to be relentless. I have wanted this guy since December.
It wouldn't surprise me if he got picked and how much you would lose your mind that I may actually like have to keep you from going out in public because of some like maybe worry about disorderly conduct and you getting put in the drunk tank there for overnight. You could actually be that excited.
I might not be able to drive home, put it that way. I mean, there's a couple scenarios where I may not be able to drive home for good or for bad reason, but yeah, there was a bunch of questions before, Jake. Your money, if you are Ortiz and if you are Harbaugh and you're the offensive staff, knowing what we know currently, who do you think that they would want? Do they care about fit? We talked to Chris Rim today, and they said it's less about fit, it's more about mentality and who's that dog. And we talk about they like a little bit of crazy. What is the fit that they're actually looking for? And is it him?
This would have been much easier to predict if Keenan Allen was still on this roster. To me, this would have made Malik Neighbors maybe even the proclivity favorite to be the selection because of the skill dynamic that Keenan had and how much that mirrors to Marvin Harrison Jr. and how much that mirrors to Rome Odunze. Now it's just like, hey, take your pick. What do you need as it relates to wide receivers? And the best thing about this draft is there's so many. Whether you're talking about the top 3, you go down a little bit further. Brian Thomas or A.D. Mitchell would be great fits. You go down even further, Xavier Legette or Roman Wilson. As Dan said, you go down even further, Taj Washington, Tez Walker. I mean, just keep going down the list, and you can make an argument to say how they could fit well into this Chargers offense. So it's a great problem for them to have. And like you said, it was interesting hearing Chris talk about that today, that it's not so much about fit, but it's hard for me not to believe that it is. it really is. Like, I hear you. I want to believe it, but at the same time, I can't bring myself to do that.
No, I think that if it was the Chargers and somehow Marvin Harrison was on the board, I think they would probably go Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I
believe that if he was available to them at 5, I don't think that they would waste any time in what they needed to do.
Yeah, honestly. Or trade back, honestly. I think this just like, cool, we're good. Which, yeah. So, Jake, switching gears here. We went a little long there, but I got a little excited talking about your Latu and Neighbors and all those guys. Folks in the chat seem to like Neighbors. There is some folks here talking about Odunze, which, let me tell you, folks are sleeping on Odunze, man. I have seen so many people talk about, like, Odunze's not it for me. He's going to be another Quentin Johnston. Like, he's whatever. Like, like, come on. Like, he is going to be a stud. And if you watch how he plays, you watch who he mirrors his game after, Rome Odunze is like, if he was who the Chargers selected, I'd be pumped. Like, the guy's legit. I don't understand why all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, and maybe it's just because they like the 2 more.
Yeah, I
don't have to shit on people to rise people up. Like, come on.
I said this a month ago when we did another live show, and this question in terms of were people sleeping on Odunze because all the chatter was about Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I will just put it to you as simply as I did a month ago. Rattle off the wide receiver room for the Chargers as it currently stands right now, and tell me that Rome Odunze cannot be that guy in that locker room on day 1. And I'll just put it as simply as that.
I mean, again, like, you wouldn't be wrong. Like, it's just, I think I've seen so many people just constantly poo-poo Rome Odunze that I'm just like kind of over it, honestly. Okay, Jake, switching gears here. Moment a lot of people have been waiting for. We're going to go all things mock draft now. So, how we're going to do this, because we could be here for hours, and I know folks got stuff to do. We're doing a mock draft. I went on Twitter earlier and I asked if the Chargers were at 5 and Marvin Harrison Jr. and 3 quarterbacks were selected, what would you prefer? And let me just go double check, make sure nothing crazy has happened. According to, and this was as of right now with over 400 votes, stick and pick or trade down, stick and pick wins with 61% of the votes. So we are sticking and picking. So, folks in the chat, let's do quick. 1, 2, 3. 1 is going to be Malik Neighbors if we're sticking and picking in this scenario. 1 is Malik Neighbors. 2 is Joe Alt. 3 is Odunze. 4 is Bowers. Neighbors 1, Alt 2, Odunze 3, Bowers 4. What say you? I'm going to give this 5 seconds. We're going to see one just flood the screen and we can move on. We've got some for 4. I don't know how to do a poll in this, to be honest, so apologies.
I'm seeing the majority of ones.
Yeah, it's all ones. Okay, that was easy. All right, so we're going Malik Neighbors next. Okay, folks in the chat, Malik Neighbors is your now Los Angeles Charger. I know, folks, some people were saying 3, some were saying 4. The large majority were 1. So 1 wins. Jake, where do you think folks are going? Folks in the chat, let us know. Round 2. Are we sticking a pick and we trading? What do you guys want?
37, this is another area where Chargers could potentially execute a trade down if they don't end up getting what they want at 5.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how you do this, which would be interesting, but obviously the fact that Johnston Newton is sitting there on the board at 37, first of all, is ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yep.
There's no way
People have said it, though.
Yes, but there is no way that he should last to 37.
Okay. I mean, I'm going through, and I'm going to count these. I know people are asking, how is Newton there? Newton 37 is a steal, but some people are saying corner. But look how many people are saying trade down. Like trade down, trade down, trade down, trade down.
All right, so let's do it like this. Let's do it like this, because I see a lot of people for Newton. Dan mentioned the corners. Dan mentioned the trade downs. 1, to select Newton. 2, to let's look through the best corner on this on this spot, or 3 is trade down.
1 is Newton. 2 is best corner. 3 is trade down. Let's see. We've got ones. Oh, here we go, guys. 1, 3. Oh, boy. 1, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3.
Oh, this is a lot more mixed this time. I've got a 2 in there.
So it's Newton. So it's basically between Newton and trading. There's a lot more 3s coming up, though.
Yep.
Trade down. All right. Trade down it is. So we're going from pick 37. I'm trying to accumulate some picks here, Jake. How far down should we go? 72 seems far.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to go that far.
All right. So we're doing 70. We're doing 37 for 43. Let's see. That's not working. 79. Nope. 109. There we go. We can do 43 for 109 and 143. Most likely that'll work. You think we can do it?
Go ahead.
All right. Let's offer the trade. If it doesn't work, I'm forcing. Hey, trade accepted. Perfect. Fast forward. Here we are. Chargers pick 43 now. Troy Franklin. Again, don't need a receiver at this point. So you got Peyton Wilson on the board, Tyler Nubin, Zach Frazier, your boy, Jake. I know this is where folks are pumped about getting him possibly. Jake, where do you think folks are wanting to go here?
Who are the remaining corners on the board currently? Just curious to possibly give other people an option. TJ Tampa, Drew Phillips, Kyrie Jackson, Renardo Green.
Okay, Jake, you got about 47 people in here saying Frazier.
Frazier.
I
won't even ask the question when you have that much overwhelming majority of people asking for it.
All right, Frazier it is. Frazier is your Los Angeles Charger picked at pick 43. You're now at pick 69. You have a center of the future, a great one, by the way. You also have bona fide playmaker in Malik Neighbors. Fam, what are we doing now? Are we going interior defensive line? Do we want to go edge? Somehow Junior Colson is still on the board if you want to go linebacker, which would be sick, by the way. I'm not trying to sway the witness here or anything. But folks in the chat, let us know where to kind of start this conversation. Let's see. Kevin saying Colson.
On offense, your first 2 picks that you have selected.
Colson to be hard to pass up. So it looks like it's people in the chat are saying,
yeah, show them the corners. I'm curious to see who's now on the board.
Oh, if
Kyrie,
they can get Renardo right now.
Jerry and
and there's Mike Jones. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, Jerry and Jones is going to make someone look so good.
Obviously, in this circumstance, because the picks have now been Malik Neighbors, Zach Frazier, I would assume that the next pick is definitely going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, just my thought. So what are your options here, Dan? You could either go linebacker, you can go corner. Do we have any other options that we could possibly go?
Some are saying running back, which I don't think that's the popular one, but you got Trey Benson there, Marshawn Lloyd. That's all there. So let's go real quick. Would you rather go corner or would you rather go Junior Colson? That seems like the 2 that were the most. Colson.
Some people are asking for Rook. Corner is our biggest need at the moment. Corner.
Someone says take Jackson.
He's a really good corner, in my opinion. I love watching Kyrie Jackson.
Okay, I think Colson's the name we've seen the most. And it's probably
Colson. I see Colson. I also see. I mean, it's to me, it's kind of even. Corners. It looks pretty even right now.
All right, Jake. Do you think right now you and I both talked about this? This team needs to get corners badly.
Yes.
And this would be a tough decision for this team, having to decide between going with their homegrown talent in Junior Colson or the priority, in my opinion, for this defense, which is corner.
Now I'm seeing it overwhelmingly be Colson in here. But I mean, I've said it. I can't see a scenario where the Chargers come out of 2 days of the draft and not select a cornerback. I just can't see that situation playing out. But it's not my mock draft. This is your guys's.
Okay. What do we do? Do you think it's Colson?
I think a majority. I think majority of people are picking Colson.
Colson, linebacker, Colson. Okay, we're going Colson. The people have spoken. Junior Colson. Which, dude, if they went Junior Colson, Malik Neighbors, and Zach Frazier as your first 3 picks, like that's cooking with gas. Next up, you are at pick 105, the beginning of round 4. Again, you now have picks 105, 109, and 110. This is where Chargers fans make their hay. So, corner is probably where we're going to be looking. And honestly, this is probably, if it was me, is where I'm double dipping.
Whew, there's your boy, Dan.
Yep.
Still on the board.
Yep.
Jarian Jones, Chris Abrams-Drain.
Everyone's saying corner. Everyone's saying, well, I shouldn't say everybody. People are asking to check the tight ends as well. Let's check the tight ends. Let's see. Cade Stover, Jared Wiley.
Theo Johnston.
This is probably the realm you can get a tight end as well. Not going to lie. Just looking at the running backs real fast. Blake Watson. A lot of people have gotten big on him.
Davis, who I absolutely love watching him.
Estime is like one of my favorites.
But see, this is the beauty part about this situation for the Chargers as it relates to the running backs. Again, not to lead anybody in terms of their pick goes, but the fact that you now have Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, and yes, I understand the whole injury aspect with J.K. Dobbins. I mean, you're going to walk into this year right now, as it currently stands, possibly with 5 running backs if you select one here in the draft. Look at how much skill set that you could possibly find here.
Yeah, Tracy.
I know everybody has their favorites.
Tracy just went 6 picks ahead to the Rams. I would have sprinted that one in. So did Braylon Trice left too. I think it has to be corner. Doesn't it?
Yep.
All right.
That's me personally.
No, I think that's what people are saying too. So at this point, you've got Chris Abrams-Drain, Jarian Jones, or
I saw some people asking for Carson. I saw some people saying Jones. Anybody else with any other corners that
a lot of people are saying Jones right now?
Like to throw in?
There's a lot of people saying Jones specifically.
Jones, got to be Jones.
Jones. Jay Baby says, we already got a cornerback. I don't think we do. Who's our cornerback?
He's talking about, I think he's talking about mentioning Christian Fulton, but still, I get it. 25 years old, 1-year deal. Hopefully you get a reclamation project out of that. You still need some corner depth in this backfield.
Yep. Here is Jarian Jones, your newest Los Angeles Charger, because everybody is wanting him except for a few people.
Somebody was asking, is Kyrie gone? I believe he just went a few picks before the selection.
Yep, he was gone. Okay, now you're picking at 109. The tight ends are still there. For those who wanted tight ends, what are folks thinking? What position?
Tight ends, running backs. Again, because what, Dan? This was only how many picks later from where we just selected?
4 picks later.
4 picks later.
You still got your choice of a lot of these guys. I think you could probably, I mean, you got the next 2 picks back to back. So you can also, people are saying double dip. Double dip.
Woo! Yeah. Dip. It's draft time, baby, when you start dropping words like that on a live show.
Double dip at wide receiver. Hey, you can go Brendan Rice, Taj Washington are here. Jacob Cowing. I know people are high on him too. They could double dip wide receiver. That could be fun.
What's the interior of the defensive line look like?
Dan? Yeah, people are looking at interior and edge. Let's go there real quick. Interior defensive line.
Ho ho.
Hey, both of our guys are here.
Hey,
Yo. If it was between these two, Jake, if it was right now, which of these guys are you taking?
between those three,
No, between Sweat and Carter.
I would probably lean Carter just because, again, of the versatility and the consistency with him. With Sweat, I personally, look, I'm not knocking Sweat. And I think that he was trying to make a statement when he showed up at the same weight at the combine from when he showed up at the Senior Bowl. That's what he's comfortable at, playing at that type of a weight. And again, he's a freaking behemoth and a scary athletic one for a guy that's that big, surprisingly. But I think he's trying to prove a point that he can last out there longer than what people are predicting. But in this particular scenario, I would lean towards Carter just because, A, yes, you don't have those weight issues. And B, the versatility and the consistency in terms of his motor is there with Carter.
You got people spamming the shit out of Sweat right now. Look at this. Like,
I totally understand. I totally understand why. I totally understand why. So I would not knock this pick at all. I think that this would honestly be a great pick, and personally was probably where a lot of people before the draft process really got going had originally predicted him to go. And then, of course, before the DWI situation, he was probably a lot higher. So if you can get T'Vondre Sweat at this point in time, regardless of what you think about his weight issues, I think that's great value.
All right, so we're going Sweat. Good news is you have the next pick. So Chargers fans, where are we going now? You can go tight end, safety, running back, linebacker. Let's go through these real quick. Tight end, you got Jared Wiley, Theo Johnston, Jaheim Bell. Tip Raymond's another one that people
probably not linebacker because you took Junior Colson, so that's now off the board.
That's right. All right, let's look at edge real quick.
I'm seeing Rice. I'm seeing Watson. I'm seeing, again, a lot of people saying Sweat. Still.
Offensive line saying Limmer. Bo Limmer, is he in here?
Looks like Bo. Oh, he is in there. Okay.
You already got Zach Frazier. You're gonna go two interior linemen.
Bo Limmer, I guess, came out in a press conference. Yes, he could play that, but I think he was saying his preference was that he was ultimately going to end up going to guard rather than playing center. That was where his preference was to be. Yes, can he play it? Obviously, he can. But I think that was where a lot of people were thinking to say, "Hey, screw it, kick him inside, and he could be a guard."
Yeah, Jacob. A lot of people are saying Rice. A lot of people are saying Rice here. So let's go quickly here. So receivers. You've got Brendan Rice.
Let's have Rice be a choice. That'll be one. Let's put T'Vondre Sweat as a choice in there. Be it two.
Right. No, we already got Sweat.
Okay.
Pick before. So Rice is one. People are saying tight end as well. So we'll do Rice, tight end, or running back. Those are probably the three, would you say?
Okay. That's fine.
Rice, tight end, or running back. You got 10 seconds, folks. Here we go. James Wagner says O-line depth. Rice, defensive tackles were their biggest needs. They already got Sweat, so we're good with there. Rice, need athletic tight end. Rice.
It's looking majority like Rice.
A lot of Rice. Okay. Speaking of which,
a lot of Rice.
Brendan Rice is your newest Los Angeles Charger. Moving on up. Where are we going here, guys? Fam? Looks like a lot of people are thinking running back too. So let's look at running back.
Tight end, your running back. You still have some great options here for the running back spot.
Kamani Vidal would be a fun selection. Will Shipley would be a good change of base. This would be a good value for Will Shipley right now, in my opinion. How far has he fallen, by the way?
I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
Will Shipley. Remember when he was looked at a couple months ago was within definitely RB 5 to 10, and now he's ranked 145.
I had him as my 9th favorite running back prospect in the draft.
Yeah.
So still, this probably sounds about right.
Okay, so people are saying Shipley. So what other positions should we steer towards? You already have interior defensive line. You've already got
loving the Shipley. And then people who can't stand Shipley.
Yeah.
We got So we got the tight ends, the running back possibility. Here's your offensive tackles. Is there another option for edge, possibly, Dan? I know we've been going some heavy defense here, and we need to put some focus on the offensive side of the ball. But what does the edge class say, right? Oh, there's one of your guys that you actually picked in the dueling mock draft yesterday.
Love Gabe Murphy. Yep. Okay, so in the chat, let's go real quick. Would you rather go edge, tight end, or running back?
Running back.
1, 2, 3. Edge, tight end, running back. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Come on. Come on. DB is also an option too, but we have pick 140 and 143, so we can do those pretty quickly, one after the other. Cam Hart's still on the board. Dude. Yes.
140 and 140 and 143 are the picks that you guys have. So it's going to be very close with one another.
Yep. Cam Hart is on the board. A lot of people are changing this up and saying corner. Corner. So we got corner. People asking specifically about Cam Hart. Tight end or cornerback. Corner. DB. Is Cam Hart on the board?
Remember, you will be selecting, 3 picks from this very selection right now?
Total eclipse of the heart. Oh, too good.
I see Hart. I see Hart.
Yeah, Hart.
Hart or DJ James. Go, Mr. Cam Hart out of Notre Dame.
All right. Now, I feel like if Will Shipley is still there.
3 picks later.
Is now going to be when we do Shipley?
Now is your running back spot. People who were wanting tight end, possibly.
You got your bruiser already. You got J.K. Dobbins.
Is this still round 5, Dan?
Yeah. We got 4
still
picks
round
left.
5. 4 picks left. This is round 5 for everybody who's keeping track.
So round 5, pick 8. Tackles, you can go Christian Jones. We know this team prioritizes offensive line. Interior offensive line. I know a lot of people love Zach Zinter. What are folks thinking? Isaac Grendo was a request here. He is still there. You can definitely get him later if you want him. Jake, what should our options be? A lot of people are saying
you go running back, you go tight end here.
Oh, tight end, yep.
Again, still even a possibility for your edge class. Try to make this even kind of a BPA scenario based off of some remaining holes to fill.
If we're going BPA, I feel like I would think it's probably Shipley.
Leonard Taylor's on the board there. Okay, I did not know that.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I said Leonard Taylor's on the board there. Didn't know that.
Can you imagine them getting Sweat and him, by the way? Okay, so edge, DB, which they could go safety. Malik Mustafa, by the way. Love that kid. I think Shipley. It looks like I don't know. We already got 2 receivers, James Wagner. He asked what the receiver class is. We have Malik Neighbors and Brendan Rice.
Did you end up going 2 corners as well? You went Jones and Hart, correct?
Jones and Hart. So you got
okay, so we got 2 corners. You got 2 wide receivers.
Yep. Some
people are saying BPA is Zinter to go right now. So let's try to narrow this down as best as possible. Running back, it looks like the consensus would be if running back was there, it would be Will Shipley. If anybody else wants to cast a vote for that to try to sway that, by all means, put the name in the chat.
Right. Will Shipley or Zach Zinter? Shipley or Zinter? Shipley or Zinter? And hell, for tight end. Shipley, Zinter, tight end. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Shipley, Ship. Leonard Taylor. Zinter.
No, that is just like Zinter, tackle, Leonard Taylor.
God dang it. You guys aren't helping me. We got to get going. We got to eat soon, fellas. Ladies, come on. Okay, I think Shipley wins.
Okay.
Shipley, Zinter. Shipley. I mean, Zinter might actually win.
This was probably the most diverse pick of the entire mock draft so far in terms of who was left on the board.
Okay, Zinter or Shipley, Jake? I'm letting you decide. It seems like a toss-up here, so you pick.
When's the next selection for the Chargers?
in 40 picks, roughly.
Okay, so whichever one I pick, the other one is most likely not going to be on the board. You know what? We have to figure that Jim Harbaugh is going to address the offensive line at some point and outside of the center position. So you want to build up a little bit more depth. So in this case, I'm going to make an executive decision and call it on Zinter.
Okay. Running backs left. We've got Kamani Vidal, Cody Schrader, Isaac Guerrero. Kamal Haddon is there, honestly.
So you go 3 DBs?
Yeah, dude. How many DBs right now do they have starting?
Stop looking for corners. Never stop taking corners.
Yeah, again, they already got Junior Colton for folks saying linebacker, but if you want to go double dip at linebacker, you can do that too. Michael Barrett's there.
This is probably also, again, I feel like we've been saying this the last 3 picks now, for either your running back spot or your tight end spot, depending on who's on the board, but it's great for a running back if you're still looking to make a selection here.
This would be a fun Guerrero pick, in my opinion.
It would be.
Jones, people were talking about Christian Jones. He's not there anymore.
I'm seeing a lot of Isaac. I believe Blake Watson, first someone asking. He had went, I want to say maybe a round ago.
Okay. I think it looks like people are saying
I've got Vidal or Ali, Isaac.
More people think Guerrero than anybody else. Guerrero, Vidal, again. Isaac, Guerrero.
A lot of people like them, so Guerrero.
Let's do it. Guerrero. Lock it in. 2 picks left. We're in rounds. We have 2 7th-round picks, guys. This could be when they go get like their quarterback and just waste it on the 7th round again.
You still brought back Easton Stick. You're fine.
True. 7th round. What are we doing, guys? We can go quick here.
Tight end, still an option here.
Yep. Taylor McLaughlin. Could see that. Trey Knox.
Tanner McLaughlin.
Lance asks, is Marvin Harrison Jr. still available?
Someone says trade down.
Okay. Tight end, I'm guessing.
I would assume so.
Tight end?
Yeah.
I'll probably decide. You pick. Which one of these do you like the most?
You probably just go BPA here.
Go McLaughlin?
Yeah. And you probably go to McLaughlin in this scenario.
Or do you like this kid? Someone says, I don't know. I honestly never seen him, so I don't know if he's good or not.
I would probably go McLaughlin here if it was me.
All right. People are saying Spanford, but that's the same person that said Minnesota. All right. We're going BPA because that's what Joe Ortiz does.
And
don't need a kicker. That's good.
Final pick.
Mr. Relevant for the Chargers, at least. Someone wants to trade us. We're not doing it.
What is the edge? What's the edge room? Probably been picked to the bones by this point.
I mean, good Lord.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Is Bo Nix available? No, he's not available. Last one. Should we get Tagovailoa just to make it fun? That'd be hilarious. Andrew Coker. What's the quarterback room look like?
Let's kind of do a recap here. You've addressed your wide receivers twice, your cornerback twice, your center, your interior defensive line. You have linebacker. You took a running back. You took a tight end. In your guys' opinion, I guess maybe you can show me the safety room, Dan, but what do you guys think that the Chargers' remaining needs are for the final pick? Oh, Mark Perry would be a good one.
I can't believe he's still there. That's crazy.
They have his usual rankings between like the 6th and 7th round.
Honestly, I would probably do some kind of corner.
Remember, we just took tight end as our last pick that we just selected was a tight end.
Someone says grab a Wolverine, so that could be Josh Wallace. This is our last pick, guys. What are we done? Okay, so a lot of people are saying offensive lineman, so let's go to offensive line, offensive tackle, offensive. These are the best ones. I got Andrew Coker, Layden Robinson, Trent Jones. Okay, Trent Jones is there. Do you want to go Michigan?
I put the line at 1.5 for Michigan Wolverines for them to be selected. So far, they have only selected 1.
This would be 2.
What does the BPA chart look like, Dan? Let's just look at it like that.
It's a bunch of punters and quarterbacks. Kickers. Literally.
This is where we're at.
Okay. Honestly, I would say either go Mark Perry or offensive line. I know people are talking offensive line. That's probably a Jim Harbaugh thing too.
If it were me looking at this, I would probably say round it out with Perry. That would be me.
Okay, it's round 7. We're doing it. Mark Perry. Honestly, fam, we did it. We did it. Let's see how they graded it. I would be over the forking moon if this is how the Chargers draft board ended up being after day 3. So, I'm going to go slowly here. I'm going to take my time with this one. Malik Neighbors.
Looking pretty good throughout round 4 so far.
Malik Neighbors, Zach Frazier, Junior Colston, Jerrion Jones, Travondre Sweat with a steal. Brendan Rice stays in LA. Cam Hart, fan favorite. Zach Zinter, another fan favorite.
Who's got bad smoke on Zach Zinter all of a sudden here in round 5?
According to them, we reached there, but everyone says that that's not a reach, at least on our side. Tanner McLaughlin, Mark Perry, A-.
Well done.
Y'all, we did it. We did it. A-. I'm gonna put this one up on X so folks can see it. Hang it in the Louvre. Fam, we are so close. If you have not done so already, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe. I know this was a long show. We went kind of crazy, but we wanted to make sure that we got through and talked about some of your guys, some of our guys, as well as doing a mock draft that you guys and gals control. Because at the end of the day, y'all have been the ones that have helped us get to where we are, that kind of keep these live shows going. All of the comments and all of the feedback and all the likes and subscribes. If you haven't done so already, please do so. Again, we're almost to 7,000 already, which is crazy. Thank you to everybody. Jake, parting words. 2 days left before the NFL draft, which is wild. Can't wait to be there with you through it all.
Parting words, I would say, let's have some fun this weekend. Another thing that I have said and that I have learned through, as we've all learned from watching this team over these several years, in this particular draft with a new regime in control, and I know everybody has their player that they want or a situation that they want to pan out, try not to pigeonhole yourself into thinking of just one thing and hoping that it's going to happen. Because in this particular case, with this particular draft, it could go so many different ways. And honestly, through the last decade of what has taken place from the draft with the Chargers, just let it ride and have fun with it and have an open mind for what's going to take place, because this is going to be a fun 3 days of the NFL draft coverage, and I cannot wait.
Look, at the end of the day, Eggnog Surfboard says, just wait till the pros do the draft. Be excited. It might not look the way you want, but they know what's up. You guys, gals, Chargers fans, all were almost like 96% clamoring for Jim Harbaugh to come in and turn this thing around. And he's here. I don't think it's really fair for anyone to really question it within the first 3-4 months of him being the Chargers head coach. Let Jim Harbaugh, let Joe Ortiz cook. Sweet Jump says, yes, Jake, saving lives out here, 100%.
I do what I can.
I'm just pumped to see what this team does, because this is, like I said, at the top, new era of Chargers football, new era of drafting. We could see a trade down for like, whoa, what's happening? Embrace it all. Enjoy it all. This is a new era upon us, and I think Chargers fans should be very excited. Dan says, to trade or not to trade, that is the question. Nick says it's going to be a great weekend. Jake, anything else before we get out of here?
Let's go.
James Wagner says, enjoy the good that is coming. All of you have been the good that has been with us from the beginning. We appreciate all of you. Again, if you have not done so already, please hit that like, subscribe. We do have the giveaway that we will be announcing on day one of draft. On day one of the draft, go to our X profile. All you got to do is like, subscribe, put the screenshot of your subscription. You have a chance to win a jersey of your choice of a Chargers draft selection of your choice. Like Sweet Jump says, win-win. For Jake, Dan, Chargers Unleashed, LA Football Network, this has been so much fun. Thank you all for everything you do to help this thing cook. We appreciate all of you. We'll talk to you next time on the next Chargers Unleashed.